Have you ever wondered what separates the average from the extraordinary? What if I told you I unlocked a secret that changed how I approach my entire day and my life in just 1 week? Alright, let's be real. We all hear about millionaire habits. Wake up early, read, meditate, all that jazz. But do they actually work? Are they just for the super rich, or can a regular person like me and maybe you use them to level up? For 7 straight days, I dove headfirst into the daily routines attributed to some of the most successful people on the planet. I wasn't just doing a few things differently. I completely reshaped my entire approach to life, work, and even my mornings. I wanted to see if these habits could genuinely transform my mindset, make me more productive, and help me feel more in control. What I discovered might just surprise you, and it definitely surprised me. Get ready, because this isn't just about getting rich. It's about building a richer life. So, the game plan was simple, but the execution? That was a whole different story. My goal was to completely immerse myself in the routines often praised by highly successful individuals. I'm talking about the stuff you read in books and hear on podcasts, and hey, the kind of advice that sounds great in theory but feels impossible in practice. My primary objective wasn't to magically become a millionaire in 7 days, let's be realistic here, but rather to cultivate a more productive, positive, and proactive mindset. I felt like I was often reacting to my day instead of shaping it, and I wanted to flip that script. The secondary goal was pure curiosity, to experience a completely different rhythm of life, to challenge my own assumptions about what a good day looks like, and to see if stepping outside my comfort zone could unlock something new within me. This wasn't just a challenge, it was an investigation into personal transformation. Okay, let's talk about the mornings. Before this experiment, my morning ritual usually involved hitting the snooze button at least 3 times, begrudgingly peeling myself out of bed and stumbling straight to the coffee machine while scrolling through my phone. It was chaotic, reactive, and honestly a terrible way to start any day. For this challenge, I set my alarm significantly earlier than usual. I'm talking 5:00 a.m. The first few days felt like a form of torture. My bed felt like a warm, cozy magnet, actively trying to suck me back in. But the rule was strict: no snooze. The moment the alarm went off, I had to physically get out of bed. It wasn't about jumping up with boundless energy, it was about sheer discipline. Once I was up, the structured routine kicked in. First, I made my bed. Sounds trivial, right? But author Admiral William H. McRaven once said, "If you want to change the world, start by making your bed." It's a small win, but it sets the tone. It's one task completed, and it gives you a tiny sense of pride and accomplishment. Next came meditation. I used a guided app aiming for 10 minutes of calm. My mind, usually a chaotic highway of thoughts, slowly started to settle. It wasn't perfect. Some mornings I was still thinking about my grocery list, but the act of trying to be present was powerful. Then, journaling. This was a game changer. I focused on 2 main things: gratitude and daily intentions. Writing down 3 things I was genuinely thankful for immediately shifted my perspective from lack to abundance. Then, I wrote down my top 3 intentions for the day. Not just a to-do list, but how I wanted to feel and what I wanted to achieve. The initial impact of this morning overhaul was astounding. I felt more in control, more centered, and less rushed. Instead of the day happening to me, I felt like I was proactively shaping it. It's like getting a head start on a race everyone else is just starting. My old work routine was a classic case of busy but not productive. I'd jump between tasks, check emails every 5 minutes, and end the day feeling exhausted but unsure of what I had actually accomplished. This challenge forced me to confront that messy approach head-on. The key here was identifying my most important task, MIT for the day. Before I even looked at emails or social media, after my morning routine, I'd pick the one thing that, if completed, would make the biggest impact. Then, all my energy went into that. It meant deliberately preventing distractions, turning off notifications, and really committing, maybe. To help with concentration, I utilized the Pomodoro technique. If you haven't heard of it, it's simple. You work for 25 minutes with intense focus, then take a 5-minute break. After 4 Pomodoros, you take a longer break. Those first few 25-minute blocks felt like an eternity. My brain wanted to wander to check my phone to get a snack, but I pushed through. Over the week, the impact on my work was incredible. My focus sharpened significantly. I wasn't just doing tasks, I was completing them efficiently. That feeling of accomplishment at the end of each focus session was incredibly motivating. I minimized multitasking, forcing myself to complete one task entirely before even thinking about the next. It was tough discipline, but it paid off in spades. My to-do list suddenly felt like a ladder I was climbing, not a wall I was constantly staring at. One thing successful people constantly talk about is lifelong learning. Before this experiment, learning for me often meant passively scrolling through articles or watching entertaining videos. This week, I made it an active, dedicated part of my day. I specifically carved out time to read business and personal development books. Instead of mindless scrolling on my commute or while making lunch, I'd pop on an audiobook or a podcast that was genuinely teaching me something new. It wasn't about speed reading, it was about absorbing and reflecting. I felt my perspective broadening, my ideas sparking in new ways. Then came the networking, which honestly was a little intimidating at first. The idea was to proactively connect with ambitious and successful individuals. This didn't mean cold calling CEOs, but reaching out to people in my field I admired, or even friends of friends who were doing cool things. I messaged a few people I hadn't spoken to in a while, suggesting a quick virtual coffee or a brief chat. My goal wasn't to get something from them, but to seek insights, hear their stories, and understand their perspectives. The benefits were surprising. Every conversation, even the briefest one, was inspiring. I got fresh ideas, heard different approaches to common problems, and felt a renewed sense of connection to a wider community. It wasn't about finding a client or getting a job. It was about finding a spark and understanding how others navigated their paths. It felt like my mind was expanding, connecting dots I hadn't even seen before. Often when we think of success, we think of work and money, but many millionaires prioritize health and financial clarity. And honestly, these were areas I'd been letting slide. First, physical exercise. This wasn't about becoming a gym fanatic in 7 days, it was about consistent movement. Each day, I made sure to get a quick walk in, maybe do some bodyweight exercises in my living room. Even just 20-30 minutes made a massive difference. My energy levels were higher, my mind felt clearer, and I was less prone to that afternoon slump. Secondly, diet. I paid much closer attention to what I was eating. Less mindless snacking, more conscious choices, more fruits, vegetables, and whole foods. I didn't eliminate anything entirely, but I became more aware. The result? Better digestion, more stable energy, and a clearer head to tackle my MITs. Finally, financial awareness. This was perhaps the most eye-opening. I started meticulous spending tracking. Every coffee, every subscription, every meal out, it all went into a budgeting app. Before, I had a vague idea of where my money went, but seeing it laid out in black and white was illuminating. It wasn't about restricting myself, but understanding my habits. It's like I finally turned on the lights in a dimly lit room of my life and could see everything clearly. It wasn't about judgment, it was about getting the data to make better choices. After 7 days of living like this, I can confidently say that the overarching takeaway was profound. This experiment wasn't just about changing my daily routine, it was about a significant shift in my mindset. I went into it expecting to feel more productive, maybe a little more organized, but I came out feeling genuinely transformed. Positive mental shifts were undeniable. I felt an incredible sense of empowerment, like I was truly in the driver's seat of my own life. My motivation skyrocketed, and I felt more driven than I had in a long time. I was certainly more organized, but more importantly, I carried myself with a newfound confidence. It wasn't an arrogant confidence, but a quiet assurance that came from consistently showing up for myself and making intentional choices. I developed a deeper appreciation for goal setting, not just wishing for things, but actively planning and executing. Effective time management wasn't just a buzzword, it became a tangible tool that allowed me to create more impact. And investing in personal growth, whether through reading or networking, felt less like a chore and more like a vital act of self-care. In conclusion, this experiment made me realize that the millionaire habits aren't just for the ultra wealthy. They're a blueprint for a more fulfilling, more purposeful life, regardless of your bank balance. They are about building mental wealth, emotional wealth, and a robust framework for personal success. So what's next? Am I abandoning all these habits? Absolutely not. My future plans are to integrate these practices into my ongoing routine. I'm not perfect, and I know I'll have days where I slip, but I now have a clear understanding of the incredible power these habits hold for sustained growth. If you're ready to take control of your time and create incredible momentum, make sure to watch this next video right here.